To start off this amazing month, we're making another facts video. Subscribe to stay tuned because this month is going to be great. In this video, we'll be looking at all sorts of facts about borders, geography, population, and extra nonsense. We're starting with interesting border facts. Let's go. Borders. The longest continuous international border is the United States-Canadian border and is 8,893 kilometers long, followed by the Kazakhstan-Russia border, 7,644 kilometers, and the Argentina-Chile border, 6,691 kilometers. Now, the longest border is interesting, but what about the highest summit of a border? This is between the border of Nepal and China, standing at 8,848 meters above sea level, making it the highest border in the world. Did you know that if you cross the border between China and Afghanistan, you'll need to adjust your watch by 3.5 hours? This is because China only has one time zone, and Afghanistan is home to another one. Kinda weird, isn't it? The next one is interesting. Barle-Hertog in Belgium and Barle-Nassau in the south of the Netherlands are intricately linked. There are around 30 enclaves in Barle-Hertog, with the smallest measuring just 2,632 square meters. 22 enclaves or exclaves of Belgium, while the Netherlands owns 8 of them. With this, restaurants, houses, parking places, and streets are divided into 2 countries. There is even a door laying in both of them. Another interesting enclave kind of situation is that of Bangladesh and India. India with 102 exclaves, and Bangladesh with 71 exclaves, and a third order enclave, with an exclave of India inside Bangladesh, which is an enclave of India, which at their part is again an enclave of Bangladesh. Are you still following? However, in 2015, India gave a small part of their territory to Bangladesh, connecting the enclave to their vast land area. Now, Italy and the tiny city-state of Vatican City are separated by the St. Peter's Square Gate. It's one of the most visited borders by tourists and locals. Due to the EU Schengen area's freedom of movement for all citizens, international border controls have been largely eliminated, and so you're almost completely free moving through European countries. However, in other countries like North and South Korea, Spain and Morocco, and the United States and Mexico, you can't just cross the border without being seen. Although the longest land border is interesting, with only 150 meters separating Botswana and Zambia from one another, they share the shortest land border in the world. To prevent illegal immigrants from entering Spain while passing via Morocco, Spain built a substantial fence, which looks like this, very similar to the border of the United States and Mexico. Since 2022, Canada and Denmark share a land border. How? Well, because of the small island called Hans Island. The Whiskey War, also known as the Liquor Wars, was a pseudo-confrontation and border dispute between the Kingdom of Denmark and Canada over Hans Island. In 1984, Canadian soldiers visited the island and planted a Canadian flag, also leaving a bottle of Canadian whiskey. The Danish Minister of Greenland Affairs came to the island himself later the same year with the Danish flag, a bottle of schnapps, and a letter stating, "Welcome to the Danish island." The 2 countries proceeded to take turns planting their flags on the island and exchanging alcoholic beverages. But in 2022, they decided to make it a border between the 2. Located in the southwestern United States, the Four Corners Monument marks the point where the states of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah meet. It's the only point in the United States where the boundaries of 4 states intersect. Now, in South America, borders are mostly natural, or actually all natural, like rivers, mountains, and forests. On this picture, you can see a river dividing Argentina from Paraguay, Paraguay from Brazil, and Brazil from Argentina. Connecting 3 South American countries, this border is called the Triple Frontier. Some incredible facts can be shown with the help of image. The differences of 2 countries can be huge, just like this picture of the Haiti-Dominican Republic border. You can clearly see the side of Haiti has no forests, while the side of the Dominican Republic is literally the opposite. Geography. Alaska and Hawaii are 2 states in the United States that do not share any borders with other states. Furthermore, 2 separate states share borders with 8 other states: Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Arkansas border Missouri. Furthermore, Tennessee borders Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, and Kentucky. Nebraska is the only state in the United States that is 3 times landlocked. A state is considered triply landlocked if 3 states separated from the Gulf, Bay, and Ocean. Glaciers hold the most fresh water on the planet. Soil covers over 10% of the land area. More than 5.8 million square kilometers are covered by glaciers. These actually hold 75% of the fresh water. Russian Lake Baikal will be your best bet for unfrozen pure water. It has 20% of the world's fresh water. Now looking at the map, it isn't obvious instantly, but Greenland stretches farther north, south, west, and east than Iceland. The northernmost point of the two Irelands combined, the Republic of Ireland in Northern Ireland, is not in Northern Ireland. Instead, it's in Bamda Crown in the Republic of Ireland, which is right here. Now, although West Virginia is obviously west of the state of Virginia, Virginia itself stretches farther west than West Virginia. Yeah, that sounds kind of confusing. But on the map, it gets more clear. If we draw a vertical line, we can see it's more west. Now, this one really shocked me, but the westernmost point of China is closer to Germany than to its own westernmost point. But it doesn't end there. It's even closer to Oslo, the capital of Norway, than to its westernmost point. From Okto, the easternmost, to Fuyan, the westernmost point, it's 4,864 kilometers, while from Okto to Oslo, it's 4,826 kilometers. Now that's interesting. Because of the construction over one lake, Mexico City sinks almost 4 to 6 inches per year. The city has plummeted over 10 meters, 32 feet in the last 60 years. The population of this metropolis is rapidly expanding, as is the need for water. The city's aquifer is increasing the risk of collapse. The Antarctic ice sheet is the world's largest solid mass of ice, covering 5,400,000 square miles, 14 million square kilometers. The massive ice structure contains about 90% of the world's fresh water. Every year, New York moves away from London by about 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch. Because of tectonic plates, the country is shifting. This means in about 4 billion years, they've drifted away 100,000 kilometers, which means that if we're looking at a map, they'll be around here. The same is happening to the height of the Himalayas, which is increasing each year to 1.5 centimeters or 0.6 inches. If this continues to happen, this means that in about 66 to 67 billion years, the mountain will have a height of more than 100,000 kilometers. Well, obviously this is not going to happen, but that means either something else is going to happen or the mountain will eventually stop increasing. However, the tectonic plates keep on moving, so it can't really stand still. What do you guys think will happen? Will the mountains rise this high in the future, or will something else happen? Anyway, Cuba is the only country in the Caribbean with an active railway. The Ferrocarriles Nacionales is the name of this railway. It runs a 4,226-kilometer network across the island of Cuba. The archipelago of the Philippines consists of about 7,500 islands and 175 languages. It's the world's second largest archipelago after Indonesia, since Sweden, Norway, Canada, the United States, and Finland are not truly archipelagos, although having more islands than these two countries. 2,000 of these islands are populated, while the remaining 5,000 are unidentified. Furthermore, the country is well known for exporting and manufacturing the most coconuts. Did you know there was an arrangement between the two countries of France and Monaco to make Monaco a territory of France instead of an independent country? If the territory didn't have any male heir, it would lose its independence. This agreement stood until 2002. Every 6 months, Pheasant Island, which is located here, switches countries. The island is located in the Bidaso River and is shared between France and Spain. It is subject to Spanish law for 6 months of the year and French law for the remaining 6 months. The next one is that all of India, China, and the US could fit inside Africa. The size of these three combined is 21.73 million square kilometers, while that of Africa is 30.37 million square kilometers. Now, Russia is the most forested country in the world, with 12 million square kilometers of forest, followed by Brazil with 5.4 million. However, with a big country like Russia, that doesn't come as a surprise. Looking at percentage, Suriname tops the list with 98% of their country being forest, followed by Guyana with 94%. Mount Everest, the world's tallest mountain, can fit inside the Marianas Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is the longest mountain chain on Earth, at 40,000 kilometers, or 25,000 miles. It is located along the middle of the Atlantic. Iceland is the only part of this chain that is above water. Did you know that mountain ranges could be underwater? The Andes form the longest exposed mountain range at 7,000 kilometers, 4,350 miles. Portugal, which is located in Western Europe, has 2 land areas that are spread across 3 continents. The Azores Archipelago, which is right here, is closer to North America than to Africa, but Madeira, situated here, is closer to Europe. And the last one of the topic geography is that parts of Canada are more south than Detroit. You can see it on this map. Population. Now the next fact is really fun, but you must pay attention to get it. As compared to the dense population of New York City, which is 27,000, the population would cover only 298,000 square miles. To make it a bit more clear, let's make a small overview. The population density of New York City is 27,000, and the total world population is 8,045,000,000. If you divide the population by the 27,000, you'll get the total square miles, which is 298,000. But now comes the fun part. It means the world could adjust almost the whole world in Texas, since Texas is approximately 268,000 square miles, which is just a bit smaller. The population would, however, fit inside Alaska, and they would even have 365,000 square miles of area left. Also, more people live in the circle you can see in this image than outside of the circle. More than half of the world's population lives here. Now, China has 102 cities with over 1 million residents. This is about 1/3 of all the million cities in the world. The United States has only 10. In 133 BC, however, Rome became the first city to have 1 million inhabitants. This line had been reached by London and New York in 1810 and 1875, respectively. There are already over 300 cities in the world with a population of over 1 million people. Lagos in Nigeria is predicted to reach a number of 88 million inhabitants, ahead of countries like Germany and Turkey, and just behind Iran. On Christmas Island, a territory of Australia, there are over 100 million crabs inhabiting the area, while there are only 2,205 people. This means that if we assume it's 100 million, there are 45 crabs for each person. Now, although kangaroos are believed to be only and purely Australian, there's actually a wallaby population, which belongs to the kangaroo family in Ireland. It's on the Lambay Island. Now, did you know that England owns a piece of property in North Carolina? The British ship Bedfordshire was sunk by a German torpedo, killing all 37 sailors on board. 4 dead, however, were washed ashore and buried at the cemetery, which was permanently leased to the British so that the sailors stay in their homeland. Today, there are over 305 tribes in Brazil, comprising approximately 900,000 people, or 0.4% of the Brazilian population. Over 476 million indigenous peoples live in 90 nations around the world. These individuals make up 6.2% of the world's population. There are almost 5,000 unique indigenous people groupings worldwide. With 17.6 million people on 41,000 square kilometers, the population density of the Netherlands is 425 people per square kilometer. This, while that of whole Scandinavia is only 27 people in 2022. Their neighbor Belgium has a similar density of 386 people per square kilometer. However, countries like France with 118 and Germany with 233 are considerably lower. Kinda weird, isn't it? Why the Netherlands? By the way, did you know that on average, each second 1.8 humans die while 4.2 babies are born? The most scarcely populated countries are large countries such as Mongolia, Australia, and Iceland. More densely larger countries are Bangladesh, South Korea, and the Netherlands. In Indonesia, Islam is the main religion with 80% of the population practicing. The most populous country of Central America is Guatemala, with a population of 18 million people. This is when we count Mexico as North America, which is mostly the case. Extra nonsense. Lesotho, San Marino, and the Vatican are the only 3 landlocked countries. However, San Marino and the Vatican are the only 2 countries in the world who can name themselves all of the following things: landlocked, an enclave, their own government, the capital city and country. Now, lions used to live among the European population. However, nowadays they can mostly be found in Africa. However, in 26 countries, they're also extinct and driven out. There was a time where lions ruled the African continent. Sad to see it changed so bad. The tallest waterfall in the world is in South Africa. The Tugela Falls, as they're called, are seasonal waterfalls with a total drop of 947 meters and an uninterrupted fall of 411 meters. Peru is home to floating islands on a lake. Lake Titicaca, the world's highest navigable lake, includes a small section where the movable Uros Islands are located. The Dingo Barrier in Australia is 3,500 miles long, which is more than the distance between Seattle and Miami. There's a stadium in Brazil where the midfield line is said to be perfectly on the equator, requiring each team to defend one hemisphere. Now that's what you'd call a perfect example of extremely interesting and yet insanely nonsense. Estadio Milton Correa, also known as Zareo, is a Brazilian multi-purpose stadium. Because the latitude of the equator is 0, the name Zaro refers to the equator. Four Corners is a location in the United States where you can be in Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado all at once. Standing in this circle puts you in 4 states at once. In Canada, there's an island with a lake, which has an island in it, and that island has its own lake, and in that lake there's a small island. Now if you'd like to put the video on pause and try to figure it out, and imagine how that looks. Weird, right? The Mississippi is the longest river in North America. A drop of water from its northernmost source in Minnesota will reach the Gulf of Mexico in 90 days. Now let's look at some mind-blowing facts people commented on Reddit. Palm trees grow in Ireland at 53 degrees north, while at the same time in Canada at 55 degrees north, there are polar bears, literally the opposite. As a worldwide center, Anchorage, Alaska is one of the few places in the world that's within 10 hours of the 3 largest global markets: North America, Europe, and Asia. Who would have guessed that a location perceived to be in the middle of nowhere is actually the center of the world? Norway is north, south, east, and west of Finland. At first, it's obvious that Norway is west of Finland. However, looking at the map, that at this point it's more east, at this point it's more west, while at this very lower point of the country it's more south. Did you know that the Middle East imports sand from Australia? Now you might think, why? Doesn't the Middle East mainly consist of desert and sand? Well, there may be a lot of sand in the Middle East, but it's not suitable for construction. This is why countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates import sand from Australia. Australia now has terrifying beasts that can kill anyone. Spiders, sharks, and poisonous snakes are among them. However, horses, including ponies and donkeys, are responsible for the majority of the fatalities. Cows and dogs followed. And the last fact of this video, the Great Rift Valley in East Africa is where the continent's tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, resulting in stunning landscapes, lakes, and volcanic activity, which looks like this. If you'd like to see a particular sort of content, feel free to leave it down in the comments. And while you're on your way there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you in the next of Earth Basics.